to invite them to the stage right now. Can you welcome Zach and Susannah White? These guys are both on staff. They're married. Before they get into a little bit of their story, they sat where you were sitting, right? Yeah. They sat in this room as students, and they survived. They survived, and they're living proof that you will not die in these seats of boredom. All right, but besides that, Zach, Susannah, can you tell us a little bit about what you do around here at MEC? Since I just said you guys are both on staff here.
Yep. I'm on the creative arts staff. And so I play music, I make videos, I don't know, it's weird, like I don't really even know what I do sometimes. I just go. Yeah. So mostly play music. In fact, I think in April I'm coming by real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on staff with my kids, so my job is the worship team for Met Kids. They're awesome. I also do social media for Met Kids, and I do tech for a large group for Met Kids. So yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Well, cool. That's just a little background on what they do around here. And another thing about them, they've been dating since kindergarten, since a really young age, right? No, they haven't been. But they've known each other from a really young age. Can you guys tell us a little bit about your story, about Zach and Susannah, the story?
My dad's the pastor here, so I've been going here since birth. And so in kindergarten, this pretty little thing came here. And so we were in kindergarten class together. And I don't really remember that, so we probably like playing like Legos or something. But so we've technically known each other since kindergarten, and then we homeschooled together going up, and then really just been with each other ever because of Met, really. So
yeah, so we grew up and Met Kids together, and like I have a diary entry from middle school that's like, Zach White is so cute, he's so much, blah, 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 and like with the hearts on the eyes and stuff like that. Yeah, so then in high school, our junior year, we became official, and we dated for 4 years, and then he proposed a year ago from Sunday, and yeah, so 4.5 years of dating, and now we've been married for almost half a year? Getting there, yeah, so yeah.
So guys, some girl that you might have shared a pudding pop with in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Marry them someday. So a long relationship, 4 years of dating, but a long relationship. You were getting to know each other. You were just friends in the beginning. Something that I'm wondering about that situation, and you guys might not, but I want you to hear something from their perspective. But why didn't you guys just start dating earlier on? I mean, you have your diary. And you probably have in that voice. I know you're right in that voice.
Before puberty.
But why didn't you just jump into the relationship and then figure it out as you went along? It seems to be what a lot of people do. They find somebody attractive, and they like, let's just start dating and figure out if this works. And they do that in the context of a dating relationship. Why didn't you guys do it that way?
Yeah. So I think for us, like we've always liked each other, you know. But yeah, so but like in middle school, I don't know. We saw how some of our other friends were maybe going out with somebody just because someone said, "Oh, this person likes you. You should go out with them," or whatever. And for us, it was more fun being friends, like staying in the friend zone, I guess. Even though we liked each other, because I don't know. Sometimes when you start dating, you just have these expectations, and you know, it can make a friendship. It can make a relationship not as fun. So for us, we knew that the foundation to a good relationship is a great friendship. So we just focused on that instead of dating. And then once the time was right, we started dating. So
I'd also add 100% agree. And we also felt like that dating was a way to kind of get to know someone you feel like you want to marry. And so we didn't feel like, obviously, in middle school that we were ready to marry yet. So for us, we wanted to just develop our friendship. Like you said, it was just fun. I mean, we talked about how we used to make these marshmallow guns, and we would like play marshmallow gun fights. And it was just like the most random crap that you do whenever you're just friends.
Nerds.
And it's just fun, you know? So yeah, I would say that in high school, when we actually started dating, that's actually when we felt more like, well, you know, towards the end of high school, I could maybe start thinking about you as marriage quality, which was pretty exciting. And so that's why I began to date in middle school.
Okay, cool. George, there's something about their story that I really want you to hear. It's something that you don't hear about every day. Zach, there was a part of your guys' story where you had an interaction with Susannah's dad, and I want them to hear about what that interaction was.
So I'm going to ask them? Well, this isn't really that exciting of a story, if I'm going to be honest. The big picture is that I just felt like I needed to ask her father before I actually asked her out. And it was mainly just, you know, I'm really close with my dad, and that's something that he definitely advised me to do because it's a sign of respect. And so whenever I was ready to date her, I just felt so strongly about her as, you know, really someone that I felt like I could marry. And I said, you know, I want to handle this the right way. You know, I want to do this right. And I don't want to make a mistake along the way. So part of that for me was I really want to ask her dad first, because that's respectful to him, because her whole life, he's cared for her, he's provided for her, he's raised her, he brought her into this world. And so I just want to be respectful to him, because marriage is really the switch. It's where the dad gives the reins to the husband. And so I just wanted to start our relationship, meaning mine and her dad's, off on the right foot. And I'm so glad that I did that. And we were talking to middle schoolers about this, and we're like, you know, maybe that's not something you do in middle school. That's kind of weird, but in high school, especially when, you know, the older you get, it's so appropriate and respectful, because this might be someone you very well marry one day.
Very nice. Great reason, Jan, too. I love to hear the respect, and love to hear, you know, the relationship that you have with her dad, even though you weren't married at the time, is just something that is going to be important. I've met Susannah's dad. He's a giant. He's really big. I mean, Zach's a big guy. It doesn't take much to be bigger than me, so that doesn't. But Zach, were you nervous at all to ask his permission to date Susannah?
Definitely. Yeah. And I was smaller back then too, so yeah, he is a huge guy. I scripted exactly what I wanted to say, and then I rehearsed it like 30 times before I actually called him. And I called him. At the time, I didn't feel like it was necessary, my dad didn't either, that I actually go and say, Mr. Prince, I'd really like to date your daughter. That wasn't necessary at the time. You know, I felt like I could call him, and it was the right amount of respect, but also very early in the relationship. So I didn't want him thinking that I'm, you know, getting carried away or anything, or that I'm had the wrong intention. So yeah, I scripted it, and I would definitely suggest that, because otherwise you'll be like, Mr. Prince. I definitely do that when I'm not thinking. And in front of a really big guy, that's probably true.
I mean, honestly, I'm the dad of a little girl now, and the thought of her dating makes me physically ill. I understand this sounds like, you know, grab the blessings of the dead. Dad's answers, so anyway, I tell you, I would have a lot less problems. I would have a lot less issues with somebody, a guy, if he was upfront, if he had nothing to hide, right? So like, if you're going to a girl's dad, so you guys in the room, if you're going to a girl's dad and talking to him about dating his daughter, that's a huge thing for this guy, and he probably has so much definitely has so much invested in this girl, and so much going on with his love for her, and how much he wants to respect it, that he's going to want that. For me personally, it would make me at peace to know that this guy is man enough to say, you know, these are my intentions, this is the respect I'm going to have for her, and this is what, you know, have her home by 11 or 10 o'clock, but not 8 o'clock means, so not too late. But anyway, but Susannah, I want to hear this from your side of things too, because you know, Zach asked that, but I think that you probably have some good perspective for our ladies to say, how did you feel about it back then? Because you probably knew it was happening maybe at the time. How did you feel about it back then, and then how do you feel about it now looking back on that Zach asked your dad for permission to date?
Yeah, so it made me feel very special. It made me feel pursued. And I think today there's for us girls, it's really tempting to kind of take the reins and be the first one to text him, or be the first one to call him, or the first one to ask him to hang out or whatever. But when we kind of step back and allow ourselves to be pursued, that's really a gift, and it's really fun. So yeah, so I was upstairs and I heard my dad pick up the phone and say, "Oh, hey Zach, yeah." And then he goes downstairs and like shuts the door, and I was like waiting upstairs at the top of the stairs trying to listen and hear. And then like an hour or two later, Zach called me. Yeah, but so it made me feel so special, and I knew that, you know, my dad really appreciated that. It wasn't like, and it wasn't weird too. It wasn't like he was asking for my hand in marriage. You know, it wasn't a big deal, but it was a sign of respect towards my dad and towards me, and it showed both my dad and myself that he really meant it, and you know, he was a good guy, and I think it just really like, yeah, it was a really kind gesture, and it just made me feel very special. And yeah.
Let me add one other thing too. You actually said this, so I'm kind of stealing your words. But if two things. As a man, if you don't feel like comfortable, or like if you don't have the courage to ask her dad, it's like maybe you should say, well, do I really like her that much then? Because if you do, I feel like that's something that maybe like I would do anything. You know, as long as I can have this girl. And for the girl, I would say, you know, if he doesn't have the guts to do that, then how much does he really care about you, right? And I would challenge the guy who could do that. I would say that says a lot about that man too. It means that they're for real, you know.
And you deserve it. As a girl, you deserve to be treated like that. And it may feel, you know, at first you may be like, I don't need some guy to ask my dad. You know, I don't need that. He doesn't need to do that. That's so old-fashioned. But really, you know, that's so special, you know, and you deserve something like that. So
yeah, when we were talking, because we met beforehand to kind of discuss what we were going to talk about, and what parts of the story that they were going to share. And when I'm thinking about this too, and I'm thinking about their story, and I'm thinking about my daughter, this part of their story really makes me want to chime in and tell you girls that this kind of approach, where he's approaching, where Zach's approaching her dad, and where Susannah's saying like you deserve it. You ladies have such value, and I need you to hear that. You ladies have such value, and for me, when I'm thinking about my daughter is priceless. Like there's nothing in the world that means more to me than my little girl. And you guys, some of you have great dads that made you feel that. Some of you maybe haven't been so lucky or been so blessed to have those great earthly understandings of dad. But I can tell you this: you have a heavenly Father, God, who thinks the world of you, who thinks you as priceless, who thinks you as valuable. And so this shows that Susannah understands that she does have value. She's worth something. You know, she's worth something to her dad, and she better be, you know, this guy that's approaching her dad and approaching her for this, better see her with the same value that he does, that her dad does, or else this is not going to work, and this is not going to be something that's going to move forward. So I think that the value that each of you ladies have is something that you really need to hear that you have. Understand that and live that out in your lives. Gentlemen too, you guys in this room, treat women, not just ones that you want to date, not just ones that you're trying to pursue, but treat all women as someone that's so valuable as well. Treat them with respect that they deserve, because that's something that God wants us to do. But let's keep moving. Zach and Susannah are both Christ followers. They're both Christians. That's a huge part of their lives. They work here at this church, so it's part of their daily lives every single day. Zach and Susannah, how important was it for you guys prior to you guys even dating, that someone that you were to share that part of your life, the dating part of your life with? How important was it for you to find somebody that shared the same beliefs, same Christian beliefs as you? And how did that affect your relationship that you were with Christians?
So, the Bible talks about something called being unequally yoked. And you're like, what the heck is that? It basically means that in the context of a relationship, someone who believes in Jesus being with someone who doesn't believe in Jesus. And so, as Christians, we knew that it was really important to be with a fellow Christ follower. And I don't know, for me, I had, I knew some people and had a friend who really liked this guy, but he was not a Christian. He said he was, like, yeah, I go to church, I believe in God, but through his actions, you could really tell that he wasn't. I was asking her, do you really think you should be with this guy? And she said, oh, I can change him, I can change him. He's a great guy, he's gonna start going with me to church, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't really turn out that way. And I know that that's a lot, that's the hope of many girls in that situation. But I just and beg is a strong word, but I am begging you to not enter a relationship, if you're a Christ follower, to not enter a relationship with someone who isn't. You can still be their friend. You can still influence them for good and be an amazing friend to them, but don't date somebody to change them into the person that you want them to be. And especially if they're not a believer, because it's the most important factor.
What would you guys say to somebody, because I know I've talked to students, and I've been a student myself at one point in my life, but the students that are like, that's great for you guys, you found somebody that shares the same beliefs as you. I haven't found that person, that person doesn't exist, or do you have any extra advice on it? Because that could have been your advice to them, but any extra advice on top of that for students that are like, I don't want to wait that long, or I can't find somebody that shares my same faith. Any advice for them?
Yeah, I do. So, yeah, I've said this before, don't waste the wait. So while you're waiting, and try not to even look at it as waiting, don't waste that period. What could God be teaching you through this time? Is He wanting to form you into a stronger Christian to maybe, be with somebody like that one day? Is He trying to teach you something, or teach you perseverance, or something through patience? Don't settle for someone who isn't the best for you, because you deserve it. You really do. And don't think that you don't, and because I've heard, someone say, well, I just don't think I can find anyone better than him. But you can, God's got an incredible, amazing plan for you. And don't waste time with somebody who isn't worth your time just because you want to be with somebody. That's what I would say.
That was it? Good. You can say that. Yeah, good. Okay. All right, so these guys, you guys dated for 4 years, and now I'm going to ask you a personal question. All right, so during those 4 years, were you sexually active? Just can't remember your brothers.
No.
All right, so let me be clear. This doesn't make sense to me, because you're trying to tell me that through high school, some of the most sexually charged years of a person's life, through the end of high school and through college, you did not have that as a part of your relationship. Okay, all right. I mean, the reason why I've asked that a couple times, and that I want the students to hear, I want you all to hear, is because I know that maybe all of you, or maybe a lot of you are like, you know what, it's not possible. And I want to show you two real life examples of a couple that waited until marriage to be sexually active. These are two examples right in front of you. The culture we live in doesn't value this idea of waiting. It's something that we believe in at this church. It's something that our culture around us doesn't necessarily value so highly. So what I want to do is I want to ask you some follow-up questions about that time in your life, the dating time that's really difficult to do this. Why didn't you make sex a part of your dating relationship?
Well, I mean, easy answer is because we're both Christ followers, and we really wanted to save that, because we felt like that's part of what we believe. We really wanted to save that, and the truth is also we had a lot of great influences in our life to also save that, and we just that was the decision we made, and we are so glad that we made that decision. Also, we didn't make I think one of the things that happens today is you kind of talked about this. You can make the relationship all about the physical aspect, and so just from the whole relationship can just start from physical attraction. And for us, obviously, it didn't start that way. We started with a friendship, and we moved on and progressed from there. And I guess I would just say, don't make the relationship all about the physical attraction. And you can find someone and be physically attracted to them and also end up working out and marry them and all that. But if it's only physical attraction that's holding this thing together, That's terrible. I mean, it's like, that thing is going to just crumble. There has to be meat to it, you know? And so for us, the physical attraction was there, obviously. I mean, so we were both Christ followers. And so for us, it was so much more than that. Yeah. So I want to say two things. Yes, we waited. Yes, we would do it all over again. And I would just hope, man, if you can, wait. It is so special, and what we share because of that, and what it means for our marriage now is so great. And I'll say one thing further. If you have already not waited, reclaim it, though. You know what I'm saying? No, reclaim it, and then move forward, and that'll be almost a gift to whoever you end up marrying one day, or want to marry. And hold on to that, because I think it does a couple things. I could talk about this for a while. I think it does a couple things. First of all, it makes what this is, right, more personal. It kind of makes it more like you're sharing something that no one else can share. You know, there's this bond that I don't have with anyone else except for this person right here, and that's amazing. That's just really cool, and it brings us closer. It's something we can rely on, confident in, and well, I'm just gonna.
You're answering my follow-up, so that's fine. I'm just not gonna ask you to follow up.
I'll wait for that.
No, you got it. Keep going.
I'm just saying, like, we're high school, right? It's not like we don't have lots of sex now, right? So it's like, yeah, we're this small little bit, right? But then we have all this time.
You have to, yeah, look
Sorry. My point is this. You wait this long. I mean, come on. This long. I know it feels like eternity right now. Like I know. But then all this time.
And we waited for 4.5 years. And I mean, gosh. It was a battle. It's such a battle. And it's so difficult to wait. I'm being serious here, guys. But you gotta look at it, and this is something like kind of an analogy. If you have like 2 or 3 jars, I guess. Like, this is a really bad analogy. But okay, so you have 3 jars. One jar in the middle is full of pennies, and the other 2 jars are empty. You have your dating jar and your marriage jar. Every time you're in a situation to be tempted to, you know, go too far or whatever, you can put your pennies in 2 different jars. But if you put it in the marriage jar, if you put it in the I'm going to wait and I'm going to honor God with my relationship and I'm going to obey Him about what He says, you know, is for marriage, you cash that in when you get married, and He'll honor that. And I'm just saying, you know, and like Zach said, in the moment, it can seem like everything. You know, the temptation is so strong. It can just seem like everything, and it could be so easy to give up. But if you make the decision, and you gotta pray. You know, you gotta pray for self-control. You gotta pray for that, because God promises to anyone that if you're tempted, you know, He can get you out of that situation. He's not going to, the Bible doesn't say He's never going to give you, that there never will be hardship in your life, but it does say that when you're tempted, if you call upon Him and ask Him, He'll help you with that. And that applies to your physical boundaries. And yeah, 4.5 years was an insanely, long time. We would do it over again in a heartbeat the same way, but waiting was so worth it. And I would just implore to you guys that, you know, whether you are going to reclaim it, like Zach said, you know, make a decision to start over and wait for that, or if you are still waiting, it's worth it. A billion times. And, you know, we're sitting up here completely unashamed to tell you that, and yeah.
So it's difficult to refrain from that, and
Yeah.
it's a tough thing to have in a relationship where you're trying to wait until marriage to keep from doing it. So what did you guys just jump into your dating relationship and just hope that it wasn't going to happen, or what were maybe some things that you guys did to keep that from happening?
Well, how long was it before I kissed you?
Okay, so here's the thing. I love me. So we became official, quote unquote, I hate that term, but whatever. And then he, yeah, so we actually never made it Facebook official, which is, yeah, but anyway. So he didn't kiss me until 7 months after that. And,
Like 4.5 years, so
Yeah.
on like a ratio.
So while that may seem like, oh my gosh, 7 months, whatever, I don't know, it didn't seem like a long time, but I think that really helped us to kind of pace ourselves. And like Zach said, when you focus on the friendship more than just, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna make out with this person all the time because that's what's fun to do, that's gonna crumble, because if your relationship is only based on physical attraction, like Zach said, it's gonna crumble. And if you pace yourself and, I love him, but I like him, if that makes sense. And if you can get that place in a relationship instead of just all making out all the time, then, that's a great thing.
And so you mentioned something before about boundaries, and that's something that I wanted to hear. Maybe if you guys had any specific boundaries that you can remember that you set as a dating couple that helped you to achieve your goal.
I'll talk about this because, guys, this is kind of something you need to be owning. And I kind of made it a point. I kind of knew, okay, I got to own this, because really we're the visual ones. We're the ones who get excited about, things, and so this is on you, really. Now, I mean, you can
It
find
doesn't mean that it's not on the girl. You
Yeah.
gotta be on the same page, but
the problem is, guys go crazy over girls, right? And especially the girl, right? It's like, oh. So I knew that from day one, I had to lay down the law. I had to say, all right, so we're not going to put ourselves in this situation. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And I'll get into some more what that is. But I would just beg you guys to just own this part of the relationship. Because the other thing is, this is going to be hardest for us to be able to do. Girls are more like, oh, I just want them to hold my hand and be close and kind of, but guys are different, it's a little different. So I would just say, this is more on you to be able to control your instincts, right? So some of the things that we did, and this was good for us based on who we are, and we're different than you. So it might be for you, you have different weaknesses, different little things. But for us, we had to keep it vertical. I said for the middle schools, keep it horizontal.
and then we're like, no.
Keep it vertical. And all that means, really, you've probably heard this before, is
Sitting, you're not
if you're
laying
watching a
down.
movie or something like that, you're sitting up, because the moment you lay down, it's like, so keep it vertical. Because you don't want to not watch movies and things like that. Keep it vertical. Now, the second thing, this is your thing. What was there?
Lips on lips and hands on hands.
Yeah.
So, kissing,
The lips and the hands don't go anywhere.
where they should
Else.
not be, okay? Yeah, and so hands aren't wandering to places. And look, we're going to be frank here. This, but don't let your hands wander to somewhere it shouldn't. Don't let your lips wander to somewhere it shouldn't. And if you're doing that, and if you're,
This is guys too. I feel like we're hands visual people. I don't know if that's the way you are. That's the way I am. Like with her, I don't. Hey, come on. This is something great.
the moment if you're in a bedroom alone, or if you're in a house alone, or whatever, that's just putting yourself in a situation that is going to lead to something else. And for us, we knew, like, okay, you can't get right up to the line. You have to not even get yourself in that situation. And so, like, for example, if he was picking me up or something and nobody was home, I would go out to him. He wouldn't come inside, and then, you know, when I was alone at home or something like that. And I mean, after a while, we just got into the habit of it. There would literally be times when we would just like sit in Chick-fil-A because we still wanted to hang out with each other, but you know, our families were asleep, or you know, we didn't want to get ourselves in a tempting situation. It's all about being aware of those situations where you're tempted, and then just not getting in them in the first place. Because if you stay in that situation, one thing's going to lead to another, and it's really hard to regress after you've crossed a line. So don't go up to that line. That was one of the boundaries that really helped us.
2 more things would be knowing when to say goodbye. And this was harder for her because I think girls like to, it's easy to take it personally, like you don't want to be with me anymore. But it's more for me when I was like, okay, it's time to go home. It would be like, you know, it's getting late, or our parents are going to bed or something like that. And I was just like, you know, we can just hang out at a different time. This is just not the best time to be with each other for boundaries. And then the second thing was your boundaries might change. So what might be the first year, like something you have to do, it might be easier for certain ways, but then you know, maybe later on you have to change your boundaries because you realize, for us, it was maybe it was keep it vertical, and then it was like, okay, we're just not going to watch movies like with each other on a couch, and that's, I mean, what are you going to sacrifice? It's like, what are you going to sacrifice to hold on to this? And I was willing to sacrifice a lot, and it was like, okay, I'm going to go spend $15 at Chick-fil-A versus putting ourselves in a situation that I didn't want to be in. So you gotta make those decisions in the moment.
Yes, it's so situational. And the other thing that helped us too, and this isn't necessarily a boundary, but just like a tool, is just we prayed about it a lot. So, you know, just talking to God and asking you to help Him. I would literally pray for the desire for self-control, because you know, sometimes you're in situations where you just don't want to have self-control. Pray for self-control. Pray for patience and perseverance, because God's going to help you get through those situations, and He's going to help you get to the finish line. And He helped us get that way, and He's going to help you get to the finish line if you pray and ask Him. And so, you know, and one thing for us too was that we prayed about it together. So there would be times like I would literally be crying, and I'm like, "Can you pray for us?" You know, and He would pray for us. You know, and I look back on those situations when He was talking about where, you know, He would say, "Okay, it's time to go." And as a girl, and you girls may be like this too, the girls of you girls in here, but like I took that personally a lot of times, and that was something I had to really work on, was when He said it's time to go, I need to honor that and help Him, because He's doing His part to get us out of a tempting situation. But if I'm just staying there like, no, I don't want to go, you know, let's go a little longer or whatever, that's not helping Him. And so I had to just realize, you know, He still loves me, He still wants to be with me, but I'm going to help Him and help the both of us and do my part to just say goodbye. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Those are really good memories. And I mean, if any of you guys have any more questions, I know that they would love to answer more about any specifics about how, because you did say situational, you can talk a little bit more about that and ask the question. We are running out of time, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to give Zach and Susannah a chance to just say a couple of final words to you guys, just on these topics, or just from their heart to you guys, because they're here because they care about you. They could very well be at home, cuddling on the couch, making up for lost time. They want to see you guys have healthy, positive relationships. So let's give them a chance to say one final word on each of them. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and this is, we spoke at Max Life a few days ago, and this is what I said. So girls, women, who are we pursuing? Are we pursuing, a friend? Are we pursuing popularity? Are we pursuing having the cutest pose? Are we pursuing a guy? Who or what are we pursuing? And this was a challenge for me. And if I could go back and say something to myself, it would be pursue God above all else. Because when you're pursuing God and you're making your relationship with Him priority, and that means things like spending time with Him by praying with Him, or reading the Bible, or coming to real life, coming to church, things like that. God's going to show up in your life, because the Bible talks about if we seek Him, we will find Him. And there's also a verse that says, if you delight in God, He'll give you the desires of your heart. And I don't know about you, but for me, like that, that really speaks to your love story, the desires of your heart. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I mean those little diary entries of that, those were the desires of my heart. And if you are pursuing a guy instead, it doesn't mean you can't pursue a relationship with a guy at the same time. It doesn't mean that at all. But there were lots of times when I let my relationship with Zach, when that took first place, if that makes sense. So my relationship with God was second place. And if you work hard at making your relationship with God the first place, and He's going to show up in the areas of your life. And my second thing is let yourself be pursued. On the flip side of that, like what I was talking about earlier, don't always take initiative. It's okay. It's totally fine to text him, ask if he wants to hang out, whatever. But if you're always doing that, if you're always taking the reins, you'll kind of notice that he might step back and just take a seat and let you, and then you're kind of like, but why doesn't he ever plan a date? Why doesn't he ever text me first? But if you let yourself be pursued, guys love to pursue. They like to lead. And if you let yourself be pursued in an appropriate way like that, it's really a joy, and you really deserve it.
I think for me, I would love to, and I didn't bat 1,000 at this, but I always tried to come to be a person of strength for her in every way. Like, I wanted to be able to lead, and I wanted to be able to be strong with the decisions we made and where I was leading us. And for me, I feel that it's important that men lead their women, and in all the good ways, because I think you can abuse that. And I would just say, for me, when you can lead a woman from an honorable place, that's kind of the goal, right? I mean, for me, I wanted to be able to say that where I was taking her hand and bringing her was towards God. That was, for me, the goal. And so I had to be in charge of my personal life with God, which is pretty much exactly what she was saying to you women. But for me, it's like, I need to be in charge of my own crap. I need to make sure that I'm right with God, that I'm praying, and I'm in His Word. And that would give me this place of strength where I can just say, this is right. I have discernment based on my relationship with Him. And the truth is, I would say, I would think that women want their man to be confident and strong about what they believe and where they want to be led, I would say. And I think men want to lead. They want to take the woman and be like, let's go. I got this.
It isn't a submission thing. No. You shall, it's not like that at all.
No.
Yeah.
It's more just, I feel like the natural kind of, she said like leading with love, obviously. And I would say with that, men, you need to be cherishing. And I think today, that's kind of lost in a lot of ways. And you need to be respecting them, because women aren't objects, women aren't things to kind of play with. And I think cherishing them, like what that really looks like, is powerful. And I think that's what women want. And that's like the key to their heart. And if men are doing that in a way that's God-honoring, man, that's just like a formula, I feel like. And it doesn't mean you're always going to do it right, but shooting for that I think is powerful. And so for us, when our relationship is just at its best, it's just when that's happening, when we're just right with God, and then everything else just seems to flow from that. It's just the foundation. And so if there's one thing to do for both the men and the women, I mean, I guess what we're saying is, for us, man, if you're right with God, if you're pursuing that, your relationship is just on, you know? So men lead, cherish, and respect women. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Now you guys give a hand for Zach and Susannah.